Okay, it's Tuesday night. I think I've made three of these videos today, these tips and tricks. I'm on a roll, so I'm having a beer, making another one. So in this one, we're going to talk about marking. It's going to make more sense what you see it, marking your terrain and cutting meshes in Blender. In a previous video, I talked about how to like mask or blend your seams. And in there, I mentioned cutting shapes in cutting your meshes in Blender. This is going to be that. Okay, so same course here, Rock Creek, or it's going to be called Glacier Golf. And let me show you one of these seams that's complete so you can see the end result. I showed this in the other video, which is right here. Um, and you can see this is a good angle. See how this is kind of jagged? To me, it helps it actually blend in a little bit and makes it look better than that straight seam, which is unnatural. So if I, thing is, the golfer will never look at this angle, so I'm not too worried about it. They're mostly going to see it from up here. So always remember to look at the angle from the golfer. So here is where they see it, and it makes that jagged, makes it just a little bit, to me, more realistic. And then I said as they move in, the grass takes over and you don't see the seam at all. Well, let's show you how to make that seam itself. So here's another part of the golf course I'm trying to figure or finish. And this is one mesh right here. I can't remember if this was, yeah, this was part of my whole 99 that got divided up. But you can see it's one mesh, but it's mostly two pieces. But what I'm trying to do here, you can see I got this area right here, which is another mesh, okay? And this has this leafy texture that I was talking about earlier. And you can tell I already cut this one. See how it's jagged like that? So I already did this one in Blender. But I want to do this one too, because I want this area right here to be green and not change. And then just on the other side, I put this fence here, and I want to put this leafy texture, the same, match it to what's over here. I want to match there, but I want it to stop at the fence. Well, I have no idea where that fence is, and I look at a shape in Blender. That fence isn't in there. It's not in Blender. So where am I going to cut this? Same thing with Inkscape. Now I could use the overhead image projector, go all the way back, cut everything through Inkscape again and bring it out. Well, I'm going to take a shortcut here. I also want to break off this piece up here because, as you guys know, if I change the material of this, it's going to change everywhere. I want to keep this like my rough grassy material, and I want to change this into my leafy material. So I need to make these two different meshes. But I also want to do it right along this fence. So how do I do this? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to turn my terrain back on. And you can see when I do that, I get my Z fighting, okay? And I want to make sure that I have a backup of it. Now, I know I have a backup of it because we're going to really screw this thing up and we're going to restore it afterwards. But, just make sure you have a terrain done. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do a backup and pause the video because I think I have a backup, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm just going to do it anyway. So let me pause. Okay, my backup is complete. So I have got my terrain highlighted. I'm going to go into this height, paint height tool. Come over here. I'm going to hit Shift, and which is going to tell me how high this is. And I'm going to change this to something ridiculous, like 100. It's 42, but I'm going to raise this 50 meters. I'm going to change my brush size so it's really small. So you see my brush size is like 2, and turn the opacity way up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to stroke it over where I want to cut my mesh inside of Blender. So I'm just going to go here, and right along this fence, I'm going to drag this. And I'm going to get this like jagged thing going on here, right? That's good. I think that's actually enough. Let's see. Let me turn my my terrain off. Nope, I want to go over here too, I think. Let me come over here and oops, paint this as well, right along the fence. And let me turn this off again. Yeah, that should be pretty good. And then this one up here, this other terrain that we were talking about, or this other piece of the mesh, this piece, this will be easy. I'll just see that in Blender and we'll cut that off. I'm going to show you how to do that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to terrain, export to OBJ. You guys have seen this before, so I'm just going to pause while I export this. Okay, so I've exported my terrain out of Unity. I've imported it now into Blender, and this is my post mesh Blender file, the one that's after conforming. And I've drinking, another beer. So this is the mesh that was in Unity that we're looking at. You might recognize the shape here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tab into here. Oops, before I do that, we tab back out. Let me turn on, yeah, I said I imported my terrain. Let me turn it on and you're going to see what happened. Okay, so now you can see where I had marked it is now showing up here. So I can have a good idea of where I want to like do this cutting. So if I just kind of go over top here, I'm going to cut this mesh right kind of along here. So let me leave that on, go back here, highlight my mesh, tab into it. And first box select, I'm going to select a little bit here and they're going to hit C for circle select. And then I can use my middle scroll wheel to make that circle bigger or smaller. And I'm going to drag to where I think that border is. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller and more precise. And I'm just going to drag through here because that's where that fence is, that border there. And then I'm going to do over here as well. All right. And then there was that other piece as well. I'll hit escape to get out of circle select. And then I'm going to shift, pan over here. And this is the other piece that I wanted to change. Now, I want to make this is all going to be the same material, this and this. So I'm going to do a shift drag. That's going to grab that. And it's going to add on. If I don't hold shift, it's going to be a new selection. So I'm shifting and dragging this to select all this. So now I got all this selected. I'm going to hit P, selection. And what that does is it creates a new mesh. And if I escape out of here, so I hit tab out, so I'm no longer in edit mode. Now you can see I come over here to my hierarchy, hit period. So now I have this is deep rough 77. And then this one's going to be a subset of that. This one right here is going to be deep rough 18. So I got 77 and 18. And in my head, I need to remember those numbers, 77 and 18. Because those are my two new deep roughs, and this is my terrain. I can actually hide this now because I don't need it anymore. Yeah, there they are. So now I'm going to hold down Shift. I got those two highlighted. I'm going to export selected FBX. And now those should show up in my FBX folder. Go back into that project. We're going to Rock Creek, OPCD, FBX. I'm going to sort by date modified. Here it is. So it's these two guys right here. These are my two FBXs. So let me just kind of put these over here to the side because I'm going to drag those into Unity here in a second. And I can reduce Blender down now, go back here into Unity. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this. You can either just replace like the mesh on the whole. I find it sometimes easier since I'm going to be changing all the materials and stuff. I just find it easier. I'm just going to delete that mesh. So now I got this big hole there. And actually, give me Control Z that. That was number 3748. So I'm going to delete that. I'm also going to delete it in my project here. 3748. That's a bridge. I don't want to delete that. Ooh, what was that? Oh, I got all those sub meshes. Sorry, I split this one up. That's why I'm going to need, that's deep rough _18. Deep rough underscore 18. There it is. So I'm going to delete this out of my project. Yep. And then I'm going to, so now I'm going to open up Explorer here, take the two meshes I just created, the ones I split off of in Blender, drop them in here. And then I'm going to go so I can see my OPCD folder. Let's go back up to the area we were working on. Sorry, I had to cut out some stuff here. Oh, I got a train ID issue down there. This is all stuff that you see when you're not expecting it. I got to fix a lot of stuff here still. And I thought I was getting close to being done. Nope. Okay, so I had 18. This guy here. Yep. Drag hit over to my OPCD meshes. There it is. I'm just going to turn off shadows while I remember to. And then what was the other one? 81 or 82? What was it? 82. Let's go 0, 2. There it is. We'll drag this one over to my meshes as well. A lot of meshes. A lot of meshes. Need another beer. Okay. So those are all in. Turn off shadows. And I can start to add components. Now you don't want to, I don't want to do my set mesh materials because I'd have to reset everything. I've made a ton of changes in here, so I'm going to just do this by hand. I'm going to do, actually, let's do these both at the same time. Save a little bit of time here. Both, we're going to do a mesh collider. Now those are going to be two separate materials, so I'm not going to add a material yet. I'm going to do a grass renderer. And I do know that the grass material is going to be the same for each of these. And I remember what that grass material is. It's 3DG, rough 3DG RC test. It's that one, tick the box. And so that's, oh, and then I need my material. So for this one, my material is going to be, this is going to be the SAT rough RC test. And then this one is going to be my, I'm just using OPCD, dual text, deep woods. So now it's grassy. I should have 3DG on it now too. Yep. I should have 3DG on the outside. Yep. I could probably remove that 3DG. It doesn't matter. But now you can see this looks much better because that line that you could see in the fence, you know, so it's green up to the fence, and then it's pretty close to the fence here. There's a little bit of a gap where I wasn't perfect, but it's good enough for what I was trying to do. It's hidden behind the fence, right? That's all good. And the last thing is, don't forget, what do we want to do? Yes, we want to take restore our foliage. I'm not going to make you guys wait for this, but we want to go up to our foliage. And because if I draw my foliage, what do you think it's going to look like? Oh no, that's right. I did it on my terrain. Boom. There it is. Draw all my foliage off. Train, and then we're going to do restore train backup. And this is the one, October 24th, restore. And I won't, bottom line is we get our train back, and now we've got our divided up meshes. Good to go. It's golden.